Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Shajida Ashraf, Assistant Teacher of English from Horipur ML High School. Today I am here with another new lesson. But before going to the lesson, I am going to tell you a interesting story. But you have to listen to the story carefully so that you can relate to the story with your any grammatical topic. But the interesting thing is that today I am going to tell you the story in Bangla so that you can understand the full story. Okay, now I am going to tell you the story. অনেক বছর আগে কুরকুরি নামক এক রাজ্য ছিল। সেই রাজ্যে বল্টু নামক এক ছেলে বসবাস করত। কিন্তু বল্টুর স্বভাবে সবাই খুবই অতিষ্ঠ। বল্টুর স্বভাব ছিল যে সকল কথার পর তার বাক্য শেষ হওয়ার পরপরই সে একটি প্রশ্ন জুড়ে দিত। যেমন সে যদি বলতো আমি ভাত খেয়েছি, খাইনি কি, আমি আজকে ওখানে গিয়েছিলাম, যাইনি কি, এইরকম করে সে প্রত্যেক বাক্যের পরে কিছু না কিছু শব্দ জুড়ে দিত প্রশ্ন করার জন্য। রাজ্যের সবাই তো ওর উপর খুবই অতিষ্ঠ। তাই কুরকুরি রাজ্যের রাজার কাছে সবাই গেল বল্টু নামে বিচার নিয়ে। কিন্তু রাজা তো কোনো দোষ খুঁজে পাচ্ছে না যে কি করে ওকে রাজ দরবারে হাজির করবে। তখন সকলে মিলে বুদ্ধি বের করলো যে পাশের এক বাসায় চুরি হয়েছে বলে বল্টুকে দায়ী করে রাজ দরবারে হাজির করলো। এখন বল্টুকে যথারীতি রাজ দরবারে আনা হলো। রাজা জিজ্ঞাসা করলো, তুমি কি চুরি করেছো? বল্টু বলল, আমি তো চুরি করিনি জনাব, করেছে কি? তারপর জিজ্ঞাসা করলো, তোমাকে তো গতকালকে রাত্রে ওই বাসায় দেখা গিয়েছিল। বল্টু বলল, আমি তো ওই বাসায় যাইনি, গিয়েছে কি? ওর এইরকম কথার উত্তরে রাজা তো খুবই ক্ষিপ্ত। রাজা এবার বল্টুকে জিজ্ঞাসাই করে ফেললো, তুমি প্রত্যেক বাক্যের পর একটি করে প্রশ্ন কেন জুড়ে বসছো? তখন বল্টু রাজদরবারে সবাইকে বুঝিয়ে বলল যে এইরকম প্রশ্নের মাধ্যমে সে তার কথার সত্যতা যাচাই করতে পারছে এবং সকলের আকর্ষণ আনতে পারছে। এই কথা শুনে রাজাও চিন্তায় পড়ে গেল যে আসলেও কি ব্যাপারটি তাই। তারপর থেকে রাজাও এরকম একটা ব্যাপার অনুশীলন করা শুরু করলো। এরপর থেকে রাজ্যের সবাই ঠিক একইভাবে একটি বাক্যের পর একটি প্রশ্ন করে নিজের সত্যতা যাচাই করা শুরু করলো। ওকে বন্ধুরা, এখন তোমরা সবাই আশা করি গল্পটিও বুঝে গিয়েছো। এখন গল্পটির সাথে আমাদের ইংলিশ গ্রামারের কোন বিষয়টির মিল আছে তোমরা খুঁজে বের করবে। Yes, my dear students, you are right. Today we are going to learn tag questions. Okay, before going to learn tag question, we have to know what is tag question. Tag question is question that are used at the end of a statement to draw the attention of others or to justify the truth of the sentence. Now, there are two types of tag questions in English grammar. One is positive tag question and another one is negative tag question. Now, we have to know the structure of tag question. If you want to form positive tag question, then the structure will be auxiliary plus subject. If you want to form negative tag question, then you have to write auxiliary plus not plus subject. Now, the most important thing you have to remember is that whenever you are using negative tag question, you have to always write the short form of negative word. Like you cannot write is not, you have to write isn't. You cannot write are not, you have to write aren't. You cannot write have not, you have to write haven't. You cannot write has not, you have to write hasn't, like this. Okay, now we will learn some rules of tag questions. The first and foremost rule of tag question is that if the statement is positive, tag question will be negative. If the statement is negative, then the tag question will be positive. So whenever you are doing tag question, you have to always remember this simple rule. Okay, now if I give some example, then you will understand it better. Now see here, Reza is doing his work perfectly. Now see, in this sentence, there is no sign of negative word. That means this is a positive statement. And in my rule, I have already said that if the statement is positive, tag question will be negative. That means here the tag will be negative. So you have to use not here. So find out the auxiliary verb here. So here auxiliary verb is. So you have to take this auxiliary verb is. I have already told that you have to always use the short form of negative word. That means you cannot write is not, you have to write isn't. Reja is a boy. That means you can use the pronoun form of boy, he. So you can write isn't he. Okay, now I am giving you another example that Noor is a naughty boy. Here also see that there is no sign of negative word. That means you have to use negative. Because in my rule I have already told, if the statement is positive, you have to write negative tag. So you have to write isn't. And Noor is also a boy. That means you can write the pronoun form he. So it will be isn't he. Now see the example of negative tag question where you have to write positive. Okay, see, they are not going to school. See here, I have used they are not. That means the sentence is negative. The statement is negative. And according to the rule, if the statement is negative, then the tag will be positive. That means here you have to withdraw the not. Only you have to write are. And the subject is they. So it will be are they. Now see another example. They have not played the game. See here, the statement is another again negative. So the tag portion will be positive. That means you have to remove this not from your tag portion. So you have to write have and then they. Have they. Okay, this is the simple rule of tag portion. But the problem will occur when there will be no auxiliary verb in your statement. At that time, you have to make your auxiliary verb on your own. And that auxiliary verb will be do, does, did. If the verb is in present form, then you will write do. If there is s or es with the verb, then you will use does. If the verb is in past form, then you will write did. Now see the example. They attended the class yesterday. See here, there is no auxiliary verb in this sentence. So you have to find your own auxiliary verb. So see the verb attended. Here attended is the verb. That means that is the past form of verb. I have already told that if the verb is in past form, then you have to take the auxiliary verb did. So you have to write did. See, in the first rule I have said if the statement is positive, then the tag will be negative. So here the statement is positive, so you have to write negative tag. That means you have to write didn't. Okay, now see the subject. Subject is they, so you have to write didn't they. Okay, see another example. He goes to school regularly. See here, there is no auxiliary verb. So you have to make your auxiliary verb on your own. That means do, does, did. See the verb is goes. That means with the verb there is s or es. I have already told that if there is s or es in your verb, then you have to use auxiliary verb does. So you have to write does. See, in the first rule I have said that if the statement is positive, tag will be negative. That means you have to write doesn't and the subject is he. So you will write he. So tag portion is very easy in your curriculum. But there are some other rules. See, in the previous examples, we have used the pronoun form of subject. But sometimes it may also happen that you cannot understand that what is the pronoun form of this subject. For this reason, you have to know another rule. See here I have written that if the subject is everybody, everyone, all, nobody, no one, none, then in the case of subject, you have to write they. So see example, everybody is present in the meeting. So that statement is positive, so you have to write negative tag portion. That means you have to write isn't. Now I have already said that if there is everybody, then the subject will be they. So in the case of subject, I will write they, isn't they. But see, there is a mistake. That you cannot write isn't they. Because with the subject they, we cannot write the auxiliary verb is. So with plural subject, we have to use plural auxiliary verb. That means with they, we cannot write is. So though in the question there is, you have to write are as your subject is they. So the correct tag question will be aren't they. You have to always remember this. Because in examination, often we see that these types of rule come. So if you can remember this rule, then you will find one rule in common in exam hall. Okay, now see, there is another thing, that if in the case of subject, if it is written that all of us, many of us, some of us, then in the case of subject we have to write we. See the example, many of us are present in the meeting. See here, the subject is many of us. I have already told that if there is many of us, all of us, some of us, then the subject will be we. That means we have to write subject as we. I have written are. I have already said that if the statement is positive, you will write negative tag. So you have to write aren't. Aren't, then the subject will be we. Aren't we? So my dear students, I hope that this class will be fruitful for you, and there are some homework for you. See the chart of homework. Okay, I hope that you will do your homework at your home, and if you do not understand any rules or if you do not understand any example, then don't hesitate to call me or comment below the section. Thank you everyone.